Man, I know I normally let it get a little longer in, but just in case you're just joining us for this episode without the last 4 or 5,
That's right.
You're going to need to know something. If you hear the sounds of screaming jets in the background, we're not under attack. We're recording from the Spirit of St. Louis Airport in Chesterfield, Missouri.
That's right.
Whilst the Blue Angels are practicing and on location, talking winter with Swinter with special guests, United States Navy Blue Angels.
That's right.
That's right. I'm Ken Bogum and Jason Dungan. And
welcome.
Yeah. Glad you could be here.
Our special guests will pop in and out.
You'll hear them.
Pretty much unannounced, but you'll know that they're here.
Yeah, it was awesome. Nicole made like 3 phone calls and lined it up. It was kind of pricey, but they came just for us.
Yeah,
they're here. Yeah, they're like, and you can go ahead and record the podcast. Right where we are. It's like, yep. So, anyways, we, So, there they all are.
Yep, all 6.
There's 6 of them all in formation together. Good Lord, they're above us right now. That's pretty neat. I think you could probably hear it in the background. If not, just trust us. There they are. Anyways, this is something pretty cool. But you know what? The Blue Angels are, I'm going to say, loosely based out of Pensacola, Florida, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily where they do their off-season training, but that's kind of the home of the Blue Angels down there. And you know what it does not do in Pensacola, Florida?
Snow.
Yep. Sure doesn't.
Yeah.
Kind of a shame.
Barely even gets below freezing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the whole Gulf.
Yeah.
Tropical weather. Who likes that crap anyway?
I don't know. It sounds boring to me.
Yeah. Well, I know hurricanes. I mean, they got hurricanes down there, right?
Yes.
Hurricanes be exciting.
And I'm not sure I would be out under the portico of the hotel in a hurricane.
No, that's true. We just do that for tornadoes.
We did it just for tornadoes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, anyways, okay. So, you know what? We the last episode, we kind of started getting into talking about some contract types. We started touching on seasonals a little bit.
Yep.
And then realized we should probably just hang on and move on to the next one. So we did talk a bit about seasonal contracts and how that can work, and I think that we're gonna get into more on the contract types here and try to kind of break some of those down. So you may already know you may know everything about contracts and how they go, and that's awesome. In which case, just still listen. You're gonna probably hear us get all excited about jets going by. That's pretty neat. But anyways, maybe we're gonna try to get into some stuff here that hopefully you'll learn something. So. Here they come, 6. Bam. Wow. Good Lord. That's nuts. So what just happened, six aircraft just come in, and they all peel off in different directions. 2 of them go heading off to the north. 4 of them go straight up. And now they've turned around and they're heading east, and I think they're all inverted.
And now they're diving on us.
Yep.
We're in trouble now, boss.
Yeah, we're all right.
Oh, wait. Does call you boss?
It's fine.
That wound is healed?
Who cares? It's fine. So, all right. So, jets. Airplanes. God, I love airplanes. Anyway, it's fine. So, all right. So,
contract types.
We're gonna
specifically a mix of contract types.
Yeah. So if you're getting into trying to figure out what you want to do on contracts, the tail end of the last episode, have a listen to that on seasonal stuff, right? So there's some seasonal talk there, and some things to consider about seasonals in particular. But at the end of the day, really what you want to do on your contracts is you want to come up with a contract balance that gives you some guaranteed profit, right? Some guaranteed gross margin, and then gives you the ability to win if you have a big year. So what that means is
gives you the ability to not necessarily lose your shirt if it's a bad year.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. So what we suggest doing is having a balance of per service and I'm sorry, the lower aircraft over there came popping out from behind the hillside.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're below. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Anyway, so what you want to do is you have, if you take a seasonal contract and you say, okay, this contract is going to be X amount of dollars per season with no limit on snowfall. There's no limit on the high side, no limit on the low side. It's a flat set rate regardless of how much it snows, right? And you know how much it's going to cost you to service that property one time. Say, to go clear it one time is going to cost you X amount of money, right? So now you take that for all of your seasonal contracts, and now you know what your cost is to plow everything one time on all your seasonal contracts. As long as your per service contracts generate enough profit to cover the cost of your seasonals, now you know that seasonal revenue stream is guaranteed gross margin.
Yes.
And so you may get to the end of a season and have a great big huge busy season and wind up losing your shirt on those seasonal contracts because they're uncapped on service. But as long as you're making money every time you go out and do services, you're not losing your shirt. You've guaranteed that the entire amount of money that comes out of that account is profitability.
Yes.
So the trick there is you have to really understand your costs. You really have to understand what it costs to plow, what it costs to de-ice, what it costs to shovel sidewalks. I mean, getting your costs very, very, very well organized and very well understood is the only way you can pull this off.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, go back to, having talked to hundreds of snow contractors over the last few months. It is surprising in a way to me how some of them think they know their costs, but really don't.
That's correct. Yeah, and the thing is they.
And I'm not throwing shade on anybody.
No, and the thing is it would be throwing shade if you're like, Phil in Phil in Chicago.
Yeah.
That guy's an idiot, right?
Yeah.
So no, but at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of contractors that we talk to, they have a handle kind of on what costs are, but they don't really. Oh, it's right over the truck. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, yeah, this is good. Anyway, they don't even track their material usage, right? Like they get to the end of the year and they know how much they spent on salt.
Yep.
But they don't know what the material cost was on a per property basis. They may know what it costs for their guys to come in for a storm, but they don't know what it costs for truck number 6 to go to that property and do the work.
Right.
So they have a big picture revenue and cost, revenue minus cost equals profit. So they know how much they make on snow, but they don't really know it on a per property basis, and they don't really have metrics in place to track that. And so that's something where okay, here we go. Shameless plug.
Plug.
The SG Advantage system will absolutely give you that. So that's something we can help with. But honestly, whether it's SG Advantage or it's something else that gives you that same information, you have to do that to understand how to make things work with seasonal contracts, and then when you mix in your per service. So okay, so now let's move on to the per service contracts, right? So per service opens up this whole realm of confusion and possibility that there are countless, and I'm going to say borderline limitless, different ways of doing that have all kinds of different implementations. That's the one. Implementations. We got airplanes and implementations.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine. So in the realm of per service, right? What we recommend going with is per occurrence, right? So that's something where you establish a cost per service. So every time you show up and let's say you clear the sidewalks on a property, right? You do all and I should say sidewalks. You clear the pedestrian areas on a property. One time is X amount of dollars per service based on how much snow is there. So that may be like there's it may be $100 for 0 to 4. It may be $150 for oh man, this never gets old. Anyway, might be $150 for 4 to 6, $200 6 to 8, whatever. However you break up the pricing increments based on the inch increments is fine. but you do that every time you provide the service. So in a 4-inch snowstorm, you might have to do that 4 times if it's a 1-inch trigger, right? You may have to do it twice. If it's warm and you got salt down, it may be twice, right? If it's really warm and you salt it 2 or 3 times, you might not have to plow it at all, right? Or if it's super, super, super cold, you might have to plow that 5 times if it's a 1/2-inch trigger, right? So who knows? But either way, every time you plow it, you get to send a bill because you're billing on a per occurrence basis.
That's right.
So what we get into is we see something out there that is called per event or per inch, right? These are not a great way to do it, in our opinion.
Right.
And
the per event is if you can. I just want to make a small differentiation here. If you can make the price right, then per event is fine.
Well, not in my opinion.
Okay.
And so this is something where I'm gonna try to do some educating.
All right.
Okay. So here's the deal with per event. So per event is, or per inch, where the storm is over, you get a weather report and says we got X amount of snow. Here's the price, right? So the issue with that is so let's say you're on a per event or a per inch contract, and you distracted again. Man, this is amazing. It's just amazing. Anyway, so you know what? They're done. I'm pretty sure that's their landing formation.
You're right. It is.
Yep. But anyway,
everybody's heading to the downwind.
Yep. I love it. Anyway, so what happens here is you a lot of times you'll get RFPs from customers that are going to say, okay, give us your price per inch of snowfall. Here's the issue with that though, is most of those contracts don't have an allowance for ice. They don't have an allowance for sleet. They don't have an allowance for 4 inches of really wet, heavy snow at 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Is a lot different than clearing 4 inches of dry, powdery snow at -5.
Yeah.
Right? And so there are a lot of variables that go into those inches, right? And so at the end of the day, though, you're going to pull that weather report and say, this is 5 inches. Give me my money.
Yeah.
Okay. So from my seat in the house.
Said it 1,000 times in my life.
What's that?
It's 5 inches. Give me my money.
Dude, you've never said 5 inches. What are you talking about?
I didn't say it was truthful. I just said I've said it.
Fair enough. So the thing is that you need to be aware of that. And so those are questions that you may pose in a bid meeting with a customer that has a per inch contract and say, okay, well, what's my multiplier for wet snow? And then what's but then you're getting into the weeds on which customers aren't going to want to do, where, the way you measure that is on moisture content of the snow. So if your snow is coming down at a, 15-to-1 ratio, or it's coming in at a 7-to-1 ratio, which if you don't know what that means, give us a buzz, we'll fill you in. But anyway, depending on what the weight of the snow is, are you going to get paid more? Probably not, so because it's by inch. So that's something where we don't like those contracts. And I think, Jason, did you say some questions on like per inch kind of contracts?
Yeah. I mean, I guess understand it's the easiest way to bill, right? Because you can just say it snowed 4 inches. This is my price for 4 inches. Pay me.
Well, but it's okay. I'm gonna argue that for a second. Here's the thing. You have to agree on what source you're going to use for that.
Well, sure.
And so, so there's a lot of companies out there that say, oh, well, we've got, we can do zip code specific, depth increments. Here's the thing, man. Almost all of those are using, weather station reports that it might be coming from a certified and calibrated National Weather Service weather station, or it could literally be a 12-year-old that's got a weather station set up in the backyard that knows how to report to the NWS.
Yeah.
And the reality is that you have the like those types of weather reports, They're not generally admissible in a court setting. They're not certified. I mean, they say they're certified, quote unquote, but that doesn't mean that they're accurate.
Right.
And so
Okay.
the thing, and because it's left up to a computer that's going to go take a bunch of random information, dump it out, and then a meteorologist looks at it and goes, yeah, okay, and then sends it off. And the reality is, I mean, think about it. We had a storm this last year here where our office, which is, how far is the office from my house? Is it 10 miles? If that,
yeah.
As a crow flies?
Yeah.
Tops. So at the office, I was talking with Brent, who was like, yeah, man, it's done. There's nothing going on. Everything's, wet and there's nothing happening. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I happened to be at home and it was dumping snow. And there was a teeny tiny little band that was a mile wide.
Yep.
That covered a 5 or 6 mile stretch of town. And it was a lot of really deep snow in just that very localized central area.
And it was very heavy and
heavy
wet snow. Yeah.
And so here's the deal: if you're on a per inch contract, well now, and you pull up you get a National Weather Service report, or you get this, you get a meteorological company that gives you a weather report that tells you, how much it was, how much snow you got in that zip code. Well, what part of that zip code?
Right.
And so, therein lies a scenario and an example of why that kind of contract, you would have still had to clear all that, but now you can't bill for it.
Yeah.
And so, or vice versa, if the weather station happens to be where that heavy band is, the customer's going to say, I didn't get that much snow. I'm looking at my cameras. There wasn't 4 inches here. There was barely a dusting. I'm not paying you.
Right.
So that's where you get into problems like that, where that's one example of why I don't like those kind of contracts, and I don't think that they're easier to bill.
Okay. So I guess, one of the things that, in the work that we've been doing over the last several months, that we've sort of tried to counsel in the best way that we can, folks from not taking those, or not attempting to set up some kind of complicated per inch billing. And I guess there's a bunch of reasons why, but I think you've just nailed on like 2 or 3 right there in that one example of why we would not want to do that.
Yep. Well, and there again, we've talked before about service level, and if you're billing by the inch of snow fallen, not by the amount of work that gets done, that's going to lead to a lower quality of service.
Yes.
Because if there's 4 inches of snow on the ground and you're getting $1,000, whether you clear that lot once or you clear that lot 9 times, I mean, human nature is human nature, man.
Right.
I mean, you're going to do the best you can to stick with the scope, but you're certainly not going to attack that sucker. You know what I mean? You want to be looking for contracts with customers who want a higher service level. Very, very rarely do customers that have high service levels go on per inch contracts. And with that, when you explain to them, okay, I can do this, but here's the deal. If on a 4-inch bid, I have to include at least 3 occurrences of plowing in there. I'm probably going to include 4 occurrences of plowing in my 0 to 4 price, but then understand when you get 1 inch, you're going to wind up paying for 2 inches you didn't get.
Okay.
You're just going to leave that alone, are you?
Well, I was too busy looking at the...
That's true. The Blue Angels are taxiing. Oh, my God, Fat Albert's taxiing out.
Yeah.
Oh, are we going to... Oh, dude, do you think they're going to do a JATO takeoff on a practice day? Would they do that?
I don't know. I'm sorry I got distracted, but it wasn't so much the F-18s taxiing in as it was the C-130 taxiing out. Yeah.
So Fat Albert, I believe, is equipped with JATO. You know what JATO is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. For those listening that don't, that's the jet-assisted takeoff. So imagine, if you will, a C-130, which is a military cargo plane that has 4 prop-driven engines on it, 2 on each wing. And as that sucker's rolling down the runway, all of a sudden, bam, here come jets that are attached to the fuselage that launches that thing straight up in the air. Now, do you know where that technology came from and why it was designed?
It was Vietnam era.
Nope,
Short takeoff.
After that, nope. in the 70s, I think the 70s, when the Iranians had all the
that's
Americans.
right. Desert One.
Yep. They what was happening was the military was working on a military option to go into that stadium and get them all out, but they had to figure out how to get a C-130 to take off from inside that stadium.
Yeah.
And so they figured it out. They got it done. However, once they got it done, they had released the hostages.
Yeah. Well, there was a mission.
Okay.
The mission went horribly wrong, and they had to abort it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a whole bunch of U.S. service members were killed.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, one of the helicopters, the end result was one of the helicopters collided with the C-130 that was refueling. Everybody was already on the ground out in the desert. So they had a staging area out in the desert. As they took off from the aircraft carrier, two of the helicopters had to turn back due to mechanical problems.
Ooh.
So they were already down to two helicopters worth of A, special operators, and B, space to take hostages.
Yeah.
And then when they got to the staging area in the desert where they were going to land, refuel, the planes were going to stand by there to load passengers and so forth. Two more of the helicopters broke down.
Oh.
So one of them couldn't even fly out, so they destroyed it in place. The other one was able to actually take off and fly home, but one of the helicopters, after it refueled, as it was taking off, collided with the fueling airplane. Horrendous explosion. It killed a lot of people. I don't remember exactly how many U.S. service members it was,
Ugh.
but it was a lot.
Man.
But I do remember that now. I do remember that the JATO developed for that mission.
Yep. Oh, there goes Fat Albert lifting off. And no JATO. Which is probably for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how slow it looks like they're going.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways. So, all right. So we covered seasonal. We covered per inch. We covered per occurrence. I don't even want to talk about hourly. Hourly just sucks.
Yeah.
Hourly's something that, you got to do it sometimes. You get great big accounts. You have to do. There are some properties that are just too complicated or too big to do to work into per occurrence pricing. So sometimes hourly is the only option, and if it is that's fine. But hourly generally doesn't reward you for the skills of the operator or investments you've made in equipment. So I don't care for hourly personally at all.
Yeah.
I find that's generally lowest common denominator kind of stuff. Unless you got to, and if it's something that you have to, generally the money's there. It's worth it. But if a customer just says, no, I just want to pay it by the hour for plowing at a mall, and they say it's low bid gets it, and I'm paying by the hour, you're going to lose money.
Oh,
there are other ways to make better money with your equipment. Another one is what we call the hybrid system, which blends your per service contract with your seasonal contract. And honestly, I don't even know here.
It's a lot to get into.
It's super easy to understand once you get it, but getting it it takes a minute. So we're just gonna let that go.
Yeah.
But really, that's when it comes right down to it. That's short and getting it. There's retainer style contracts. There's staged seasonals. There's step seasonals. There's cap seasonals. There's I've seen so many different kinds of contracts that there's so many out there. It's really hard to get them all tied up into one thing.
Yeah.
But some of them are definitely more advantageous than others. And sometimes you can do some negotiating and get the one you want. Other times you can't.
Yeah.
And if you've got questions on that, you know what you can do?
Oh, they can give us a call.
That's right. They can call us here at Swinter Group. That's what we do, man. We try to answer some of those questions and be there for you. You know the number? You don't know the number.
No,
I'll give you a hint.
You wouldn't if it wasn't written down.
It's my direct number at the office.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't know unless I wrote it down either. Anyway, 314-260-4352. Or although sitting here in the airport, I should say 4352.
That's right. 4352.
Yep. Anyway, that's it. Talking Winter with Swinter. I'm Ken Bogeman. That's Jason Dungan. Here comes Fat Albert doing a low pass.
Thanks
Love
for joining
it.
us.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.